Hi everyone, it's Lindy on here from Pink Whisper Designs. Today I'm going to be showing you a card using some of the cute little Lawn Fawn Forest Feast creatures. This is the Forest Feast set with the stamps and matching dies. And then I'm going to also be using the Happy Harvest set, some of the pumpkins and the stalks of hay and the little sunflowers and the birds from that set with the matching dies. And then I'm also going to be using the Critters on the Farm set, and from that I'm going to be using the hay and the fence. So I'm going to start by taking 140-pound cold pressed watercolor paper from Canson, and using my VersaFine black permanent ink pad I'm going to stamp out the squirrel and the little acorn, and then I'm going to stamp out quite a few pumpkins, 2 large and 2 small, and then I'm going to stamp 3 of the small sunflowers and the 2 little birds. Then using my Fossilized Amber Distress Oxide ink, I'm going to stamp those corn stalks, and I'm actually just going to need 1 of those. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that. Because it is a solid image, I really won't need to color it in. So now that I have that all done, I'm going to go ahead and stamp the bales of hay, and I'm going to need 3 of those. And now I'm going to need 2 of the fence. And now that I have everything stamped out, I'm going to go ahead and take some washi tape and I'm going to tape those dies in place. Just get them all set up and ready to go, and then I can start to run those through my die cutting machine. A lot of little tiny pieces, so I got everything run through the machine and die cut out, so you can see that I have everything ready to go. So now I'm going to start to color in these images, and I'm going to use 990, 912, and my blender pen N00 from the Tombow Marker sets to color in the bales of hay. So what I want to do is lay down my lightest color first, and then my darker shade, and then I'm going to go ahead with the blender and blend those in. And really you don't have to be that fussy, you're just looking for some highlights and lowlights. I didn't spend a real lot of time on these. Just go ahead and add, a little bit of the darker color where you think you would need it, kind of where that rope would be tied around the hay, and just kind of blend that out. And it goes pretty quickly, and I thought there should be like a little shadow in there, so I added a little touch more ink. Here again, I'm just laying the lighter color down. Then I'm coming in with the darker, little bit of a darker brown color, and I'm just going to apply that again where I think it would be the darkest, and then just blend those out. And again, I'm not, spending a lot of time. I'm just kind of going for effect here, because there's a lot of elements to this piece, and they're all going to kind of get tucked in place, so it's not going to be that noticeable. And then I'm going to use 993 of my Tombow markers. And I decided they just needed a little bit more of a yellowy tint, orangey yellowy tint. So I'm going in with this golden color. And I apologize, you can't quite see that, but there, you get a better look at it there, that you can see that I've added a little bit of a yellowy golden color to these. So I went back in with those, pretty much applying the ink in the same place I had done to do the shadowing, just kind of pulled that color in. I thought it brightened them up a little bit and gave them a little bit more interest. So I'm going to set those aside and go to the sunflowers now. Here I'm going to use my 993, 912, and 995. And I'm going to go ahead and start to color those in. So I'm taking a little bit of the brown color in the center and then pulling it out with my blender pen. Then going in again, giving that a little bit of a shadow. And now I'm going to apply some of my golden color around the petals there. And I'm going to blend that out with my blender pen. And then I'm going to come in with that orangey tone. Give a little bit of color. I'm just going right around the center there and putting in where the highlights, where the darker would be, more towards the center, and then just pulling that out. So the centers will be a little bit darker than the edges there. And again, not real fussy. We've got a lot of elements on this page, and once it all comes together, you're not going to notice all these pieces. So I'm taking 947. I thought it needed to be a little bit more shadowed there around that edge, and I'm adding that and blending it out. So you can see that it's got some, some highlights and lowlights there. Now I'm going to take my Jelly Roll pen in the white, and I'm just going to add a little color where those little black dots are. I'm going to turn them white just to make them look more like highlights. So I've got all three of those set to go. I've got the little acorn, so I'm coming in with that golden color again. Very simply just blending that over. Now I've got the little squirrel, and I'm taking my couple shades of gray, a lighter gray and a darker gray. And I'm going to lay down the lighter gray first. And then what I'm going to do is take that darker gray and put it around the edges and in the areas where I think there would be some shadowing. And I'm just going to take that with my blender pen again and just pull those colors in. And you do want to check and make sure your blender pen is cleaned off between all these layers, because if you take it to a piece of scrap paper and just rub it on that scrap paper, it'll take the prior color off and it'll turn clear when it's ready to be used again. So just keep that in mind, that you don't switch colors without cleaning off your blender pen. So there you have, he's got a little bit of a shadow to him there. I'm taking a pink and I'm going to put a little bit of pink on his cheeks. I'm just going to blend that in. Now I'm going to take my Jelly Roll pen in black and just go back over his eye. I just thought it needed to be blackened a little bit there. Now I've got the two crows, and I'm going to take my light gray, dark gray, and an orangey tone. I'm going to add the orange to the base of his beak, and then I'm just going to blend that out towards the tip. Now I'm going to take my grays, and it's a little bit of a darker gray here, and I'm going to blend that. Let's see, I didn't clean my pen, so I went back to clean it there. It had still a little bit of the orangey tone on it. And then I'm going to blend that out. And I'm coming back in again with a little bit darker and blending it again. Same thing on the other one here. Kind of leaving his tummy area a little bit lighter. I did decide these were both a little too light, so I took my black Tombow pen and I decided to go back over. I just felt like the crows should be a little bit darker. I didn't want them to be totally black, but I did think they needed a little bit more of a darker shadowing. And you can see with the blender pen, I'm just kind of going in little tiny circular motions, just pulling it down, pulling it in, and then just going back and blending until you get that look that you're going for. And the Tombow pens are really just so easy to work with. So now I'm going to go ahead and take my Nuvo glue. I'm sorry, my Nuvo crystal glaze, and I'm going to put a little bit on the beaks just to give them a little shine. And again, I'm going to take my black jelly roll pen and go over the eyes just to blacken them up again a little bit more. So now the last thing I want to do here, or the next thing I want to do here, is the pumpkins. And so I'm going to take my Tombow markers again in shades of yellow, light orange, and a darker orangey color. And I'm going to go ahead and start with the lightest color here, which is kind of a golden yellow color. And then I'm going to take the next shade, which is more of a lighter orange, and then the darker one up here at the top and at the bottom, and a little bit along the creases there. And then I'm just going to take my Tombow pen again and blend that out. Just pulling that color up from the bottom towards the center of the pumpkin. And now I'm going to give it a little bit more. I thought it needed a little bit more shading there, a little darker. And you can see how easily it blends. A little bit more of that yellowy tone. And you can keep playing with these. If you find it's getting too wet, just heat set it a little bit and then start over. Now I'm taking a brown and just doing the stem. So I went ahead and did all three of those. I thought they needed a little highlighting, so I'm coming back in with my white jelly roll pen and just adding a little highlight to the right hand side of each of those. Just a little dash line and a couple of little dots, just to make it look like it's, you know, getting the light hitting there. Now I've got my fence, so I'm taking a tan color and a darker brown, just applying the tan color to just the right side of each of those fence posts, and then underneath. And then I'm taking the darker color and I'm doing that on the opposite side. And I'm going to come in again with my blender pen, and I'm just going to blend those two together. And usually I start off just light and just to determine where I'm at and what I need to do next. So then once you have it blended, you can take a better look at it and see if you need to add more shading, or, you know, where you want the shading. So here you see that they didn't quite look shaded enough to me, so I came back in with the darker color, and you can see how that really adds a lot more dimension now. So, you know, be a little lighter handed at first, and then you can always add color. It's harder to take anything away. So there you see it has a nice little effect to it. And now I have both of those colored. So I have everything colored in now, and I want to take the Knock on Wood Petite paper pad from Lawn Fawn, and I'm going to use the darker wood grain color. And I'm going to take the leafy tree backdrop, and I'm going to die cut that out of the wood grain paper. I'm going to go ahead and pop that out, and this is the portrait version. There is a landscape version as well. I'm using my Tim Holtz little awl to push those out. And you can see I have a beautiful, beautiful tree here. I love this. It makes a frame and the tree at the same time. So I'm going to use my Distressed Oxide ink here. And I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of color around the edges. And I'm using the Vintage Photo Oxide ink, because I want to take that white away from the edges, and I just want to give that tree a little bit more dimension. So I'm just taking the applicator tool and I'm trying to tuck it in here and there where I can get a little color on those edges. So just manipulate the paper a little bit till you kind of get things, get that color in where you want. Now I'm taking the Watercolor Petite paper pad, and I'm going to use the yellow and the greens. And I'm going to die cut a bunch of the leaves from that same set. And I'm going to use the Fossilized Amber and the Spiced Marmalade Oxide inks. And I've already cut them out of the yellow and green paper, so half the work is done for me. So all I really need to do now is add a little bit of shading around the edges or to one side of each of these leaves, just to give them a little bit more dimension. And I'm going to add the Fossilized Amber to some of them, and now I'm going to come in with the Spiced Marmalade. I'm going to add a little bit of that to some of them, just to give the effect that leaves would have of the multiple colors, the oranges, yellows, the greens. And you can see what a difference that makes. And again, I'm not being fussy, just kind of applying the ink randomly. I'm even applying a little of the Spiced Marmalade to the green leaves. I guess one more there, just for good measure. Oh, another one. So you can see that I'm going to just keep going along that process till I get all of those done. And I have the peeled paint Distress Oxide ink, which is a beautiful green color. And I'm going to do some of them with that color, just giving them a little bit of highlight. And now I want to add one more, which is the Lucky Clover, which is a darker green, more of a Kelly green, just for a little bit of brightness. And I'm adding that also again to the yellow and the green leaves that I cut out, just to get a variety of dimension and color. And so those look pretty good now. Got a nice variety there. So now I'm going to take the outside in stitch rectangle, and I'm taking the largest one, and I'm going to die cut out the light blue sky and the dark green. So for the sky, cut out the whole thing, and for the darker green, I just need a piece that's going to be the grass on the bottom. And I want that stitched edge, so I'm going to cut it to size, I would say about 1/3 of the way up. And I'm going to take now some Salty Ocean Distress Oxide ink, and I want that to be right along that grass line. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that ink right in that area, just so I want it to be darkest near the ground and then get lighter as the sky, as you go up towards the sky. So I'm just going to apply that till I think I have enough there, and then check it. And you can see there I'm getting a nice dark edge there. And now I just want to blend it out so it fades in without a drastic line there. So I'm just going to keep applying that until I get it to fade out. Now for the grass, I want to take the Lucky Clover, and I want to apply a little bit of that right along the top edge of the grass there. And I'm just going to apply a nice coating of that, and again blending it out, making sure I have a nice blend. And you see how that gives that grass a nice definition. So now you have the sky and the grass. So those two pieces will fit together nicely there. Now I'm going to attach that grass down with some score tape. And I make sure it's secured nicely. I'm just using 1/4 inch score tape there. It's a nice heavy duty tape. And I'm going to place that down. Now I want to see where those little fences, they're going to go to the right and left side of the grass. And I'm coming down just a little bit onto the grass for those. And then I want to see where my little sunflowers are going to be. So I'm going to take my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, and I'm going to go ahead and attach the fence because I'll need those in place before I put my frame down. They're going to be tucked under that frame, so I wanted to get those in place. And I only put glue down towards the bottom of them because I still want to be able to tuck those flowers in behind it. So you'll see I'm just applying the glue right along the bottom edge of that fence. And then I'm bringing it down onto the grass, maybe about, I'd say, I don't know, not quite half an inch. And now I'm going to get the placement of my flowers. I want to tuck a couple of them in behind there. And that looks pretty good right there. So I've got those in place. And now I can go ahead and attach my frame. And I'm going to use some photo mounting tape. I'm just going to cut that strip right to size, and then I'm going to cut it in half. I'm trying to use the grid lines on the score tape to cut that in half. And I'm going to go ahead and do that all the way around, and then I'm going to add a few pieces in chunks behind the branches of the tree just to make sure it doesn't collapse anywhere. So you want to add enough adhesive back there to make sure the whole thing is popped up and it stays in place. So now that looks pretty good. We've got the base now laid down and it's ready to be decorated, which now is the fun part, really. We're going to determine where to put these little bales of hay. I wanted a little place to place my squirrel and my pumpkins. So I'm just going to lay this out first here just to see that everything fits. Kind of decide where I want those pumpkins to be. And so I can start to put those into place now. And I do love this Nuvo adhesive. It's very strong. It goes on easily. I just bought another bottle of it actually because I love it so much. It really seems to work well. And now I'm putting a little photo mounting tape on one of these bales of hay just so I can lift it up in front of that tree a little bit. And again, I'm going to do the same with this one, but I only need the tape on the right hand side and the glue on the other side so that it rests against that other one that is already popped up. And now I'm going to lay down the next one. And you'll see now on this one I need tape up towards the top and a little bit of glue at the bottom. So these all kind of rest on top of each other. Now that I have all three of those in place, I want to put that corn stalk kind of up against that tree there, almost to make it look like it was leaning up there or tied up there. So I'm going to, again, put my glue and get that positioned in place. Now I'm going to come in and put that pumpkin right in the front there using the Nuvo glue. And then putting the little smaller one up on that little ledge, that bale of hay there. And now I want to put my squirrel right in place. I decided I wanted him to be holding the acorn, so I'm getting out my cutting mat. I have this little mini cutting mat, and I'm going to use an X-Acto knife. And I'm going to cut right around his little paw there, just so that I can tuck that acorn right in there. You just want to apply some good pressure. And then I'm just going to lift that up. And so now this little acorn will tuck right in there under his little paw. And I'm going to hold that for a minute just to hold it in place. But you can see there that it's tucked in underneath. You know, the little details are what I love. I mean, you don't have to do all of this. I just love to create these little scenes and I find it fun. So, you know, do as much or as little here as you want. I mean, you don't need all these pieces. But again, you know, I love doing all of this. I just think they're so cute, and I love to build a little scene. Because this would be beautiful with just the tree and the fences and a few flowers, and then maybe stamping a saying down towards the tree there. So you could easily do that. Now I'm just going to take all my little leaves and I'm going to position some down here on the ground as though they've, you know, already fallen to the ground. And it'll kind of finish off and complete that look of the scene at the bottom of the card. Then I'm placing some by the fence on the grass. And I'm going to put some up in the tree. And I thought it'd be cute to have one or two looking like they're falling to the ground, so that I put one there and kind of falling down. And now I need to put my little birds in place, and I am going to pop them up with a little mounting tape just to make him look dimensional there. And the second one is flying in towards the tree. He's going to land. So I've got him in place. And basically that's all the pieces of my my tree there. And the only thing I'm going to do is I want to take an 8.5 by 11 sheet of white cardstock paper. I'm using 110 pound, and I'm cutting it the long way at 4 1/4, and then I'm going to score it at 5 1/2. And this will give me a card that opens a top folding card. And that'll open that like that. And now I'm just going to take that whole panel and I'm going to glue it using my ATG 700 double-sided tape here. And I'm going to go ahead and put plenty of glue on that, plenty of tape on that. And then I'm going to position that on my card. I do find it easier if you just stand the card up. And then you know the bottom is flat, and then attach it. And that's my card for today. I know it has a lot of detail and a lot of pieces, but you know, like I say, do as much or as little as you like. You can see all the dimension there. I just think these are so fun, and this can be for anything, any kind of card. I like to leave a lot of my cards blank because then I can fill them in later as needed. And I hope you had a good time. If you like it, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. And visit me at my blog, pinkwhisperdesigns.com. Thank you for visiting and have a great day. Bye-bye.